So first, I want to give a big shout out and a big thanks to all the volunteers and group leaders. Thank you for your leadership. You guys have been amazing. We hope to continue to see leading groups next quarter. Okay, so today I want to do a little bit of community time. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to think about this. In the past 11 weeks, what's something new you learned, either about yourself, just about storytelling, or about anything in general? So let me go first, just to give you an example. So the one thing I learned is that there's a huge difference between transferring knowledge to the students versus actually the students learning. Students are going to learn when they're able to do certain exercises, certain practice, rather than just receiving knowledge. Because a lot of things that I might say it to give you an example, and it sounds nice when I say it, but then when you go try to do it yourself, it might not quite work out, right? Second thing I learned is that everyone's at a different level. A lot of the assignments have been too difficult for some part of the community and not so difficult for some other part of the community. So I'm trying to, in this next quarter, the assignment can be meaningful no matter what level you are in your business, in your storytelling, or anything like that. So Moki, let's start with you.
Yeah, for me, just learning this past quarter about how stories can really help people get to that I get it moment. I guess you can call it aha moment, but also just like connecting the dots and not just like in like all this to help like my business or whatever. It's just to communicate and connect with people. Son, I think that I can't remember what's I don't know if it's a Sunday service or something like that. You were talking about, or might have been a leaders meeting. You were talking about how in the past, when people ask you where you're from and you say, well, I'm from I like New York. Like, no, son, where are you really from? And it can be annoying if you're, whether you're a person of color or you're an immigrant or whatever. But for you learned that people are just trying to connect, and that was an aha moment for me. And since then, it's just like learning how to, if I can tell clear stories, people really get that. And we connect. And telling stories helps to disarm people, even if they don't realize it. And it opens them up to to feel comfortable, to share their concerns with me. So that really helps in business when you got to get objections to close people. But it also helps when you have a 4-year-old and you're trying to get them to do what the fuck, so that's the big realization, because I've been able to see how that works across like all different areas.
I think this is my 4th week in Night Owl Nation. I've been learning a lot of things, but mostly about myself, the things I have and how to use them, because I would view something about myself as a weakness, right? Because someone told me about it or I noticed about myself, and then I would be like, okay. And then I wouldn't know, all I'm thinking about is improving it. And something I've been struggling with is following a framework or a recipe. So I've just learned that, you know what, I can just follow one rule in the framework and apply it today, and then tomorrow I'll follow this, tomorrow I'll do that. And it's a learning process.
I think this is my 3rd round now that I'm doing Night Owl Nation. What we've learned here is like, look at your weakness and see how that might hurt you in life or in business, and then turn that around and see how that actually is a strength and how you could actually use that as a selling point, right? Like the agency example that you give, like, you go to a big agency, all the A players are working for the A brands, and here you are. But you come with us, you get the best, and we bring everybody together to work on your project. So I think that's an amazing, like, flip the script of like the perception of a small agency, oh, they can't really deliver. But hey, as a matter of fact, we can really over deliver and do a better job. So to turn that weakness into a strength, that's something that I learned, and how storytelling is like the key to unlock that strength, right? You're talking about this loop that we're in, like this story that we tell ourselves about why we can't do a particular thing, or why we can't really step up to the plate, or why, we can't compete with the other agency. But when you learn the lesson, or when you look at like what you're doing wrong or what you're missing here, and you start to connect those dots, then you can get out of that loop, like that key. The story is like unlocks that, and you can grow until, next level, you can up level. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, for the community. Like, there's so many amazing people in here, like really smart, but also really, really big hearts. And the engagement in this community also is just like off the wall. Like I've been in so many communities where there's 5 people that are the most active and everybody else is kind of like, like passively looking and maybe commenting here and now. But here, everybody's just so engaged and so, like helpful and giving feedback. And the small groups and the feedback that you get and the insights, they make me look at my own story from a complete different angle. I go like, I never thought of it that way. And that is really, the glue of this community, like to challenge yourself and to, yeah, I mean, I can go on, but I love it.
I think storytelling has been really, really helpful here in terms of finding ways to connect those dots and making people think like I never thought about it that way.
And you're right. Like storytelling, for me, is less about me telling a story to help somebody. Yes, obviously there's that too, but it's really for myself. By me telling a story, so a lot of times forces me to think about things that I didn't think about. Like you said, right? We just do it this way because that's the way it's always been done, or that's the way I've always done it. But then once I force myself to tell a story about it, I'm like, wait a minute. Actually, maybe this is what happened. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I guess before I go he said another example. Whilst I think at the other session we kind of got deep into like being vulnerable and stuff, I think now we're kind of like bringing it back center, because I don't want to, like, for example, I don't want to like bump into someone and then all of a sudden like, oh, I'm sorry I bumped into you because my dog died and I couldn't see anything and I was crying, and like it's not that deep. Sometimes it's like, oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. But I show you have somewhere to go. I'm sorry, just keep it moving. But it's finding common ground, like, hey, I was wrong, you can go. Because some people just be like, hey, I did this, I pumped my chest. And just like, again, drop your ego and just be like, hey, I'm sorry. It's just a different way of thinking, and I appreciate that.
So like for me, like this round is my second round of night owls. And I feel like in first round, I'm still like trying to find out like what is my unique story, what is the story that is like different than everyone to share, and want to be like that authentic that time when I think of it. But this round I connect myself more with like other story and just like let myself to tell the true stories that happened, and it's actually like connecting with more people because more people finding it resonate, and like we can start building up a conversation from there. And so like that definitely is something that I learned about like storytelling. And about myself, I think I used to be someone who thinks I can either do things 100%, like I will be joining every single meeting, I need to be 100%, or I'm 0%. And because of like this round with my pregnancy, I'm not like all the time my energy is like high. And so I learned that I can just like work with it, and showing up is still better than nothing. And so I allow myself to be there. Maybe sometimes I'm not sharing that much as before, but just like seeing all the beautiful faces in here, feeling the community, it makes me feel better every time.
I am Mukaddes. I live in Turkey. I can talk to you with Google Translate. So sometimes I try to understand you. If I keep quiet, when you tell me something, I understand you. I'm new in Night Owl Notion. I'm actually a very talkative person, but now I just listen and try to understand. It is very different experiences for me because I always have a story to share, or I like participate in conversation. But now I'm learning to be a good listener, thanks to English. I always been sociable and talkative, but I'm new experiences being like an introvert. I understand very little, but I feel the energy here, and it's very good for me. If there are friends who speak Turkish, I'm waiting for you in Turkish small group. I love you. I love you so much. Wherever you are in the world, our passion for stories brings us together in our hearts.
This is the great thing about this community, is that there are people from all over the world. So what I wanted to share was that the assignment that you gave before, I think it was the beginning of December, about like going out and doing an act of service or an act of kindness. And so I got, after you gave that assignment after Sunday service, I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to go to this coffee shop that this guy, because I was staying in a town I wasn't familiar with, he said I should go to, and I'm going to buy someone, their coffee or whatever they're ordering, who's ever behind me. So I'm walking to the coffee shop. I get really excited. I'm thinking in my head, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to, buy their Sunday coffee or their coffee order, and they're going to be so thankful and so happy, and all these things. And I get to the coffee shop and I get in line, and then I notice there are two people behind me that are together, these two college ladies. And I thought, kind of in my mind, like, oh, this feels a little, I got a little nervous, and I told the person at the cash register, hey, I want to buy the people behind me, their order, whatever it's going to be. And so they get up and they do their order, and the cash register lady lets them know, hey, this guy's going to buy your order. And they, were like, they were thankful, but also maybe a little creeped out that this older guy was just suddenly buying their coffee. I don't know. I don't know exactly what was going on in their mind, but it was totally different than what I was making it up in my head. And I left I wished them a good day, and they said thank you. And I walked out of the coffee shop quickly with my cup of coffee and started walking back home. And I noticed there was a used bookstore that was across the street. I pop in, start looking around, and then all of a sudden, this kid comes in bouncing off the bookshelves, talking to the owner. And he just seems a little bored. And I'm like, hey, I used to be a librarian. I'm like, hey, what do you like to read? And I start, going through the children's section and finding different books that I think will be, appealing to him. And then he ends up choosing one of them. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to buy this book for you, so you have something to read or something to do. And it was totally unexpected, unplanned. And in that moment, I think my biggest takeaway was to trust the process. Like, I don't know, and there's no reason to like formulate what's going to happen in my head. But yeah, I think that was the biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
And that we all have stories that we may, you never know when that story is going to happen.
First of all, I'm glad you experienced that. And the story that you just told right now was such a great story, by the way. The whole time I was like, what happened? And then what happened, right? So it was a great story.
There's something in my head that I remembered what you have said before, that it's okay to commit mistakes. It's okay to be messy. It's okay to show your weakness. It's okay. So just be a beginner. So here comes what's happened. I joined the breakout room, and it was so fun. It was so, you know what? I feel grateful that I didn't listen to what's my mind was saying, that don't enter that breakout room, just leave. Because you know what? Seeing the smiles of my group mate that time, it was so, I feel so blessed. I feel so grateful. And yeah, the thing that I have learned during the past weeks that I'm with you guys, with this community, is to show your weakness, is to show that it's okay. It's okay that you have weaknesses, because before I am so afraid to show my flaws, to show my weaknesses, because I am afraid that people will judge me. And little that I know that what you have said before, just doubling down on your weakness, it will be your greatest asset. It will be your greatest strength. And because of that, son, there are lots of people who are related or relating to my content. And yeah, because showing your weaknesses will make you relatable to other people, that it's okay to have mistakes, it's okay that
Mhm.
you're weak right now, because there is hope. You can improve. Oh, because Jen is like this before, I can do more like her now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my takeaway.
Yeah,
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you. That was really brave of you too. Like you went from not wanting to be in a breakout room to
Yeah.
sharing in the big group. So like that was a huge progress.
Jen, you inspired me so much too. Gigi asked me to share, and I normally don't. I save it for everybody, and I do. But basically, I met up with a friend yesterday, and she said when I was first learning Portuguese, I would walk the streets like this. I wouldn't talk to anybody in Brazil. I would only focus on where I needed to go and go directly back home. And I would never speak to anybody. So when I see people come up and share their vulnerability, it's just amazing. So thank you all who are here and sharing. Yeah, completely contagious. And I completely forgot that I used to just be so tunnel visioned to my target, and then I would go back home. And my friend shared that with me yesterday. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Sun.
Thank you all. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Hope to see you next week. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Submarine.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good vacation.
Bye.